Everyone, and welcome to the Gravity Max live stream. Today we are going to be talking about music theory, which is an interesting subject, and we have our friend Zach here, who is a composer, not officially,
Not
but
really.
pretty much, I think you're more qualified in music than anyone my age, like anyone our age that I know, so
Yep.
Maybe.
Yep. Max has also dabbled around in composing, as you can
Yes,
tell by the
with
background
the
music.
background music.
It is his original composition.
Yep.
Now, out of the three of us here, I know the least about music theory or anything because I don't currently play an instrument. I played the trombone a while ago,
Trombone.
which is not the most well-known instrument or not the most loved instrument, but it can help me if I ever want to play jazz.
Yeah.
So there we go, jazz boy. But these guys have composed stuff for strings mainly, and I have not. I have not composed, but there you go.
Yeah.
So let's hop right into the disclosure.
Oh yeah, sure.
Also, let me open the stream.
Okay.
And another
Okay. I need to fix the title.
monitor.
Currently, the title is pending. Here. Do you want to get the Do you want to get the disclaimer? You can get the.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. All right. This video is not intended for children under 13 years old. If you are under 13 years, please do not watch this video, as the topics we discuss are meant for those with at least a high school level of education. If you are not at least 13, you will not understand the scientific topics discussed in this video. That's the COPA disclaimer. We've ranted about it tons of times on tons of streams. If you want, go back, listen to us yell about it, but I'm not explaining it here.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
you can also visit the Gravity Max website.
Yep.
I don't know if that's on screen right
It
now.
is, it is.
Because it is. Okay.
I fixed the
you can
title.
also visit the Gravity Max website.
The title is.
And you can
it's a
follow
Google
Gravity Max on social media.
Mm-hmm. And then also you can follow Sebastian on social media at Karl Marxman.
Oh yeah.
Is that?
Oh yeah.
Is it just
yes. Yeah, it's not changed. I only have one post. Zach, do you want to plug your thing? Your Insta? Or nah?
No.
Nah. Okay. Zach wants to remain anonymous.
Yes.
I'll plug my music YouTube channel though, Bishop BR. Guys, follow Bishop BR on YouTube.
You
I will
heard it
put
here
that in.
first. Sorry,
put
I
that
opened
in.
the stream.
Okay, so also buy A Truly Dead Rock. It is a science fiction novel. I've talked about it a lot of times, like every video, but it takes place in the year 2102, on the moon, and it follows a high school freshman named Hudson, and he and his brother need to get off the moon because there's just a political collapse. So it's a pretty fun book if you like sci-fi. So yeah. Music theory.
Oh yeah.
And I've made the disclaimer smaller so that it doesn't monopolize like 50% of the thumbnails as they have been. So I think that's a nice touch. Yeah. So what do you think? Music theory.
Music theory. Zach, go ahead.
Alright, so music theory. Sort of the science of music. Everything behind music, and it's relevant mostly to classical music, but actually all music follows more or less the same Western theory. There are a lot of deviations for different cultures, but most Western music follows the rules of music theory. So the first topic we're covering is music history, or the different groupings of composers that sort of outline how music progressed throughout history.
Cool. Okay, yeah, history. So, yeah, I think that was a pretty good summation of what the history...
Yeah, that was a great opener.
Yeah. So, should we get right into it?
We start off with the medieval era, if I could talk. The medieval era.
Medieval.
this was from 1100 to 1400 CE,
Mhm.
or AD, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
And we have 3 outlining figures of the medieval era. So
Mhm.
the first one is Guido di Arezzo, who I believe he was the first person to use sheet music.
Ah,
Yeah,
Who he is?
he was the first person to like popularize the use of sheet music on paper.
Mhm.
People had actually made similar staff lines on tablets and other things. They even used to print music or engrave music on like knives so that people could sing a short chorus before eating dinner. It's interesting.
That's
Wow.
interesting. Yeah, that's
And
really interesting.
This dude, Guido, was one of the first people to use traditional amount of lines on the staff. He uses,
Oh,
I
he's
think, 4 lines.
Yeah.
And before that, they used to just use as many lines as they wanted.
Yeah, as they deemed necessary. It's interesting. You can tell in the background of his picture that it's a little messed up. Like the notes are
their
symmetrical.
style is definitely
Yeah.
not modern sheet music, but he was one of the first people to
Yeah.
get closer to it.
Definitely a start.
Then we got Guillaume Dufay and Giovanni Palestrina,
Mhm.
who are both composers. How many works did these guys have? Like, approximately, Zach?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
He had
Because, like, why do these 2 guys stand out in medieval?
well, Dufay composed a lot of music for cathedrals,
Mhm.
and he was a Belgian music teacher, and he composed 35 mass sections. So he wrote a lot of masses, and his music is really pretty close to bridging into the next era, the Renaissance
Mhm.
era. And Giovanni, this dude was also a pretty influential composer, and he was the representative of the Roman school of music composition. And he also wrote a lot of masses. So these early guys wrote a lot of religious music,
Definitely.
and their music was centered on religion pretty much.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because that was pretty much the only music allowed at a certain point in the past. You know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would
So
be
we
vain
also-
pursuits.
yeah, go ahead.
Otherwise, it would be like vain pursuits or something. Like I read the Crucible recently, and about the Puritans in Salem, Massachusetts, and generally, they were a lot more repressive in the past. And also, you have a ton of these instruments too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. The instruments of the medieval era included bagpipes. We have a fiddle down in the bottom left. Then we have a harp, and then that little stringed instrument is called a psaltery or a psalterum, a psalterium. Either one.
Nice.
It's like just a little stringed thing that you like pluck. We have a flute, and that's a medieval flute. We have that little horn-looking thing, which is called a schwarm.
Nice.
And up top on the right, we have a drum.
Cool. All right.
So those were all used in the medieval compositions, and some of them are still used today, like bagpipes, the flute, and the drum, and the harp, obviously.
Cool. Okay, I'll go to the next slide.
Yeah.
The Renaissance era, 1400 to 1600.
So, between the Renaissance and medieval era, there is some distinction in the style, but the composers can sort of arguably fall into either era, and it sort of even blends into the Baroque era. So, one thing you'll notice between early history and late history is the differences among the eras in early history are probably smaller than in late history. The music style, there's not really a distinctive shift. So these composers of the Renaissance era most likely composed religious music as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they also broke off. Like William Byrd, he was an English composer that began to write for the keyboard and other sacred music, but not directly religious.
That's interesting.
He composed during the same time period as Shakespeare, which is also interesting.
Yeah, and he looks kind of like Shakespeare as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got the traditional beard, mustache, and the hair.
And his name's William, so you can tell he's British.
Well, everyone was named William from England at that point in time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. So would you say that there was a lot more change in art for the Renaissance, or like visual arts, like paintings, than for musical arts? That's interesting. Yeah.
But with someone like Claudio Monteverdi, he was a very important pioneer in opera, and he sort of like made opera popular.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Nice. So we have some instruments.
Yes.
Down there. We have on the left, you have that guitar-looking thing. That's called a citern, spelled with a C.
Ooh.
And then, like, you can see, like, that has a very nice finish. It looks like a beautiful instrument, kind of like a lute. And then you look directly to its right, and you see its beta brother, the gittern, who just looks so terrible next to the citern.
Okay, in defense of the gittern, I must say that gittern is probably actually from 1500, whereas the other one is probably a replica they made like 10 years ago or something. Okay, he's just older.
That's true.
The one to the right is actually still in tune.
Yeah.
All these years.
But the gittern probably did evolve into the guitar.
Yeah,
I would say. So then we got that's a clavichord, right? The harpsichord doesn't come until later. So that's a clavichord, which is kind of like an early piano type thing.
Yeah.
And then we have the pipes, the pan flute, and all the way on the right we have the hurdy-gurdy. With the most legendary instrument to ever exist.
Yeah, on the bottom left, that's a hand crank, right?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it takes two people to play because someone has to crank it and then someone else has to put down the keys.
That's
crazy. I'm not entirely sure, but interesting. The medieval and the Renaissance era, the instruments that we've shown so far, they are the most often instruments appearing alongside angels, and in many depictions of angels, they became associated with these early instruments. Partly because a lot of these composers were like working for or with churches, and also because they thought that music was supposed to be sacred and angels would therefore be musicians. But it is much rarer, almost entirely unheard of, to see angels with instruments of the Baroque or classical era, possibly because of like Enlightenment philosophy.
Yeah, you think about the violin
religion.
or the violin. It's always the devil with the violin. Yeah, so that's interesting. Also, I would like to address chat. So, Michael McCarthy, Jam McCarthy says, 1975. He says, "Is it live stream time? It is." And I just want to point out the fact that at 4:59 p.m. he said, "Is it live stream time?" So that's before the stream even started.
Wow.
What a legend.
So then it was
what a legend.
Live stream time.
Yeah, how did he even do that? That's my main question. How did he put in a comment at 4:59 p.m. when the live stream doesn't start until 5?
I am speed.
I suspect witchery.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Renaissance. So now Baroque era.
Let's head over to the Baroque era, which was from 1600 to 1750 CE. And this is where I can start pulling up my bizarre composer facts,
Nice.
we start coming into the more well-known composers such as Bach, who we have over on the left, looking pretty good. We got Vivaldi, center stage, and we got Handel over on the right, looking like Humpty Dumpty. So, just some interesting facts. Both Bach and Handel were both blinded by the same ocular surgeon, John Taylor, who was actually a quack.
He needs to be, fired. Wow.
Yeah. So he made them both blind in one eye, I believe,
Ooh.
after they required some kind of eye surgery or something. And they both had John Taylor, and John Taylor didn't know how to do his job. So John Taylor ended up blinding.
You know what's the worst part about that? This is before anesthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not only
another.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Not only did it mess up their eyes,
another
but they felt
weird
it the
fact
whole time.
about. Yeah, another weird fact about Handel is that he would eat a lot.
Oh.
Apparently, he was known to order enough dinner for 3 people.
Wow.
If he was eating out.
Wow.
So.
I guess it reflects.
The man likes to eat.
Yeah.
Needs his grub. So these 3 composers combined put out 2,270 pieces.
Wow.
So I think these 3 composers also, you can trace the roots of all music following to any of these 3 composers, especially Bach. Bach is really the Baroque era. He's the pinnacle of Baroque composition, and his understanding of chords has probably never really been matched by anyone else. And what he has accomplished in harmonies is still the foundation of music today. Even like pop music had simpler chord progressions, but he kind of set the rules for harmony. And many classical era composers thoroughly studied the works of the Baroque era and built on them.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, 2,200 songs. That's crazy. Like, you always hear such and such modern composer is just copying from earlier works, and then you think at a certain point, how could they not?
Yeah.
With so much that exists. Yeah, so that's interesting.
We'll get to that with modern music.
Yeah.
There are ways to avoid copying people.
We got some instruments. We got so one of them is a violin, one of them is I'm gonna say I should be able to tell the difference, shouldn't I?
No, there's no way to tell the difference from a picture.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I was feeling ashamed of myself there.
It's Schrodinger's violin / viola.
The viola's on the left, and it has like a little bit of a wider bottom, but there's pretty much no way to tell from a picture.
I see that.
Okay.
Viola, I'm a violist, so I know the difference between a viola and a violin. Viola's, I'm probably the only person that does. Only violists are allowed to know.
Yeah.
The viola is just a bigger violin, and it a fifth lower.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I play the violin.
We also have a Baroque trumpet. That's a Baroque style trumpet. And, of course, we got the cello.
Yeah.
All right. We can head over to the classical era.
Sure. Classical era. It's interesting. Classical era, you always think when people say classical music, they generally just mean any music that sounds old. You know what I mean? They mean any music that involves strings and no words. But it's actually a specific period of time. It's 1750 to 1830. So, yeah.
Yeah. And these composers are also the most well-known, arguably, in the genre of classical music between all of the eras. Mozart and Haydn particularly are
Yeah.
probably the most famous composers. And you could talk about their lives individually for probably hours, but each of them, like I said, studied the works of the Baroque composers and innovated on them and started to compose in more of a thematic style.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
was less simplistic. But
Yeah.
I have some weird facts about some of these gentlemen.
Uh-huh.
As a boy, and I told you guys this one before we started the stream, but as a boy, Haydn once cut off the pigtails of a fellow choir member as a practice. So,
yeah, Haydn was big in practical jokes.
yeah, even in the 1800s, pranks were a thing.
One of his symphonies is actually a practical joke too. It's Haydn's Surprise Symphony.
Wow.
If you ever get the chance to listen to it. Haydn heard that someone was falling asleep during his concerts, so he wrote a symphony that was really quiet and then had one very loud note in it to try to like wake the person up. And I played that piece this year.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, what a legend! Honestly, that's crazy. That's pretty funny.
Mozart wrote the overture to Don Giovanni on the morning of the opera's premiere while suffering from a massive hangover.
Again, what a legend.
What a legend.
Yeah.
You gotta think,
Haydn's
same stuff,
life
different era.
is farly more known to historians than Mozart. Mozart is we're kind of unsure about him. There are a bunch of different depictions of him, like in Amadeus and in other books and media, but no one really knows the true Mozart.
Yeah, I think I heard a Mozart fact that that Mozart, there was this in, I think, the Sistine Chapel, they had music playing, but they wouldn't give anyone the sheet music, so you could only hear it in the Sistine Chapel, and then Mozart heard it twice, and then rewrote it when he got home.
Yep.
And just published it for everyone, which is the first case of music piracy, I would say.
Yep.
And so now, Paganini.
I threw Paganini in here as well, because he is part of the classical era, but he was probably the most famous virtuoso. He was a violinist only, so he's probably one of the only composers that wasn't mainly a keyboard player, especially from this time period. Of course, they could play more than just keyboard instruments, but most of them, that was their first instrument. But Paganini was just incredible at the violin, and he was very innovative for the classical era. Many of his compositions, including his 24 Caprices, used techniques that kind of pushed what music was considered at the time. And I think there are always composers in every era that try to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
So we got some instruments.
Yeah.
We got the harpsichord in the top left. We have the bass.
Yeah, that bass.
In the bottom left.
That bass does not look like it's doing very well.
Shadow in that photo.
Right? It's like leaning on the chair like that, and it's like, oh.
This bass was also suffering a massive hangover.
Exactly. Sloshing around inside the bass.
I believe that's a piccolo under Mozart. And we have an oboe on the right side. And that's from the classical era. That's not what an oboe looks like today, by the way.
That's cool. So should I go to next?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, next slide.
Yeah. Yes.
Beethoven.
So after that, we got Beethoven. We wanted to dedicate an entire slide to him because he's important, and he's also in the middle of classical and early romantic.
Yeah, he's the composer that changed the classical era, arguably, and began to compose more romantic music.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of, if not the most listened to composer,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the most performed composers as well, especially because his symphonies are all amazing symphonies and pretty famous, especially his fifth, sixth, ninth symphony.
Yeah.
Those are like everyone has heard them pretty much.
Yeah, the one in the background is Ode to Joy. In original, what, German or French? I don't know.
German.
Yeah, German.
Beethoven was German.
Okay. Yeah.
Beethoven, interestingly enough, actually liked Napoleon, though.
Oh.
Briefly. He was going to dedicate a piece to Napoleon, but then Napoleon did something stupid because...
Invaded Russia in winter?
Yeah, probably. And then Beethoven was like, nope, not going to do it anymore.
Here's an interesting fact about Beethoven.
Yeah.
He was very meticulous.
Ooh.
And he, in fact, he would count out 60, like exactly 60 coffee beans every time he had a cup of.
Wow.
Very meticulous guy. Probably helped with him composing symphonies because everything had to be exact.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had notebooks. He had 50 notebooks where he would start to write and then erase and cross stuff out and make edits and stuff, which is something different from other classical composers. Like Mozart would just sit down, write all of the parts once, and they would be perfect. He would make a single edit. Beethoven changed things all the time. He was constantly editing and improving stuff.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
When he died,
style.
Yeah, when he died, he had a net worth of $50 million.
Whoa!
And so
wow.
I don't know if that's in. Wait, let me check if that's in today's money.
Yeah, that's got to be adjusted.
It's definitely inflated.
Yeah,
that's probably.
That's got to be adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's gotta be.
That's crazy. 50 million.
He must have got a lot of commissions.
Got to think he's like their times John Williams or something like that. Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, I'll go to the next slide. Early Romantic Era, 1830 to 1860.
So we got Camille Saint-Saëns on the left. We got, I don't know what Mendelssohn's first name is. Felix Mendelssohn in the center.
And then Franz
Schubert. And I have a lot of strange facts about these guys.
Ooh, let's hear them.
Yeah, these guys are getting strange.
Yeah. Schubert, Franz Schubert, was given the nickname Little Mushroom by his friends due to his height. Now, Schubert, I'm going to look up his height. Schubert was 5'1".
Ooh.
Oh.
Wow.
Rough.
That's rough.
Mozart was 5'4".
Wow.
And so was Beethoven. Wow.
That's actually, I think, more
Beethoven and Mozart
were
both
times.
5'4".
Was shorter back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
5'1" was short
Franz
for
Schubert was
that
just
time.
so short.
Definitely. But yeah, I think Napoleon, right? Napoleon himself was 5'7", and that was the average height. And it's just like British war propaganda. That's why we still think that Napoleon is short. That's where the myth comes from.
Camille Saint-Saëns was a member of the Astronomical Society of France, and he had his very own personalized telescope to look at the stars with.
Yeah, this dude is a legend. He's probably my favorite composer.
Yeah?
His music is very distinctive. I mean, you can make comparisons to other romantic composers, but he is like the master of thematic composition. And the instruments that he has written for, especially organ and piano, because he's a pianist, his concertos for those instruments are the perfect balance of virtuosic playing and theme composition. So he's definitely a very important romantic composer.
Yeah, I got something on Mendelssohn, actually. Mendelssohn was an art enthusiast and would actually frequently paint watercolor pictures.
Oh, is that picture, do you think it's self-portrait?
Maybe it is.
Maybe. I don't think so.
No, yeah.
Mendelssohn painted a lot of landscapes.
Oh, okay.
He was actually a very good painter.
Yeah?
He was, he's sometimes called the Mozart of the Romantic period because he lived a very short life, but still was able to write 300 pieces in only 28 years.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Or, no, 38, but...
I just want to see how tall he was. Okay, he was doing a little bit better for himself. He was 5'6" before he died of a
Close
stroke.
to average. Yeah, his death is very tragic. His sister had unexpectedly died the same year, and when he returned home, he was on a trip to compose in Britain, I'm pretty sure. And when he returned home and found out the news, he died of a stroke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because he was really close to his sister. And she was also a composer, Fanny Mendelssohn. So we could have put Mendelssohn's in here.
That's true.
Wow, that's crazy.
So we can head on over to the late Romantic era.
Sure thing.
Which was from 1860 to 1920.
Yep.
We got Peter Tchaikovsky. We got Brahms, whatever his first name is. And Debussy. Johann Brahms. Yeah, that's right. Everyone's named Johann.
Debussy's got some good music.
So, from the early Romantic era and Classical era, you can see that all of the portraits are in color. But in this time period, there was no color. So, it was really black and white.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I guess this is when the first cameras...
No, this is obviously when there were photos.
Yeah. Yeah. This is when the first cameras were invented. So
these are actual pictures, and everything else is not.
Yeah, so these are the first actual pictures of people. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
An interesting fact about Tchaikovsky was that he was actually kind of decent friends with Camille Saint-Saëns. And the two of them would have fun whenever they were at the Moscow Conservatoire together. They would enjoy imitating the ballet dancers for fun.
Wow, that's funny.
Just to have a laugh between them.
Yeah, I've definitely played some Tchaikovsky and Debussy songs. Like there's this one called Debussy. It's Gollywog's Cakewalk, which is just a great name in general. Do you know that one, Zach?
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds it's like da 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 da. It's good. It sounds like very emblematic of this era too, I think. But yeah. Yeah,
this era isn't too different from the earlier Romantic. But these guys are probably, I would say, even more grand than the early Romantic period. Like Tchaikovsky and Brahms symphonies are very full and fortissimo, even triple fortissimo sometimes, fortissimo. You start seeing that more. Whereas Baroque, Classical, they would have never used those musical directions.
That's interesting.
Now we have the most recent era.
The post-Great War era, or as most people know it now, World War I. So 1920 to the present. So we've got. So
we have Sibelius, Stravinsky, and Harry Potter.
Shostakovich.
Yeah.
Those glasses. Oh, that is true. He looks too much like Harry Potter Shostakovich in this photo, I have to say.
In this one, so yeah.
That's crazy.
Shostakovich lived a very hard life. And he was definitely influenced by the First World War and the Second World War. especially the Russian Revolution, because he was kind of attacked by communist Russia throughout his entire career as a composer, and it influenced almost all of his music. His 7th symphony was written during the siege of Leningrad in World War II, and during the siege, Germany had basically isolated Leningrad from the rest of the world, so people were starving and no one could leave. Like, they were eating wallpaper and stuff, so he wrote a Leningrad symphony, Symphony Number 7, and he actually chose to write it in C major to boost morale, and they blasted it at like the front lines so that the Germans could hear it, because they wanted to send the message that, like, even being under siege, they could still write a symphony in their city.
Yeah. That's good.
So, pretty important. Some people even have theories that Shostakovich helped win the war because of his music boosted Russian morale so much that it was able to turn around Operation Barbarossa.
Wow. That's crazy.
I don't know if I believe that, but it definitely did have an impact.
Well, you gotta think drops in the bucket and butterfly effect type stuff.
Yeah.
That's just like he is the bard's idol. Anyone playing as a bard should look up to Shostakovich.
Exactly.
And also, just a little interesting fact about Shostakovich is if you look at the timeline of his pieces, you can actually see a major change in his music after Stalin died.
Oh, for the better or for the worse?
Actually, for the better, because it was less stifled.
Yeah.
Because when Stalin was in power, there was a certain standard of what was acceptable. So and after he died, he was able to be more free.
So was he opposed to Stalin, or did he support? Because
he himself, I mean, you can't be living in this era in Russia and be anti-communist. Like, that's just not allowed. If he said that, they would have killed him, kicked him out.
I just mean, was there a point later in life where either...
I think my personal belief is that he was communist, but he didn't like Stalin's harsh totalitarianism leadership. Yeah. Because his 5th symphony, if you listen to the last movement of it, the entire symphony is in D minor, but they made him write it in major because he couldn't. The USSR didn't want it to be too sad, and he made the ending of his last of the last movement, 100 repeated D major chords. So it was like a metaphor for being forced to be happy, like someone beating you with a stick and telling you to be happy.
Wow,
that's interesting.
Yeah, he was a genius of the post-Great War era. He also uses his name in many of his compositions. Like in his 8th string quartet, the motif is D, E flat, C, B, which is the in the German musical alphabet, his name.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Wow.
And that entire quartet is based on those 4 notes. It's pretty genius.
Yeah, that's wow. That's interesting. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Sibelius was a composer that inspired Finnish nationalism, and he was really a prominent voice for Finnish artists during the time because they didn't really have a national identity after getting independence because they were either, they either fell under Russian control or Swedish control. But then they, in the 19th and 20th century, became free and sort of were their own nation. And Sibelius wrote a lot of Finnish-inspired pieces.
Hmm.
And then Stravinsky was another Russian that changed music a lot because he composed the Firebird, the Rite of Spring, and a bunch of other pieces that were so different that they caused riots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this dude...
Rage spell.
Yeah, he lived from 1882 to 1970.
Wow.
So throughout his life, he saw some pretty crazy changes.
So did he live in Russia his whole life?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he moved to the USA. I can't.
Yeah, I'd imagine if he caused riots, then I got to get out of here.
He was also just standing at 5'3". It's gotta hurt.
I think it's a trend. That's interesting.
So, I was just looking at some composers' height, and it seems like the tallest one is, correct me if I pronounce this wrong, but Sergei Rachmaninoff
Rachmaninoff, yeah.
Yeah, Rachmaninoff. He stood at 6'6".
Wow.
So
also gave him an advantage when he was playing piano. Actually, that makes so much sense. I bet his hands were massive.
That's
because
true.
Yeah.
His piano music, like some of the chords are just whack, like 13ths and stuff, and your hand has to stretch so far.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So he was 6'6".
Yeah, you see physical aspects come into their music. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
If you look up Sergei Rachmaninoff's hand, you can see his hands. His fingers are super long. Yeah, his hands can stretch to a 13th.
Wow. Yeah, that's really far. Anything else for this time period?
I think we can move on to frequency.
Cool. Frequency,
So,
or lambda.
frequency is, it's denoted by lambda in
physics.
Common science.
Mhm.
And as is Half-Life, which is why you can see the Half-Life logo there.
Yep.
And frequency is like the baseline. It's the most like overarching thing of what music is, because it's all the frequency and amount of vibrations that a string or a note has to create sound.
Yeah,
So
this is how we hear. This is how we hear pitch specifically. Frequency is the frequency of the sound waves that are coming into your ears. That is how we hear different notes. So each different note has a different frequency. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yes. So
ratio.
Our first subtopic is ratios.
Yeah. So this is basically why we have octaves, and it's an octave, two notes that are an octave apart. One has a frequency twice as high as the other, and that's the higher pitched note. And that 1-to-2 ratio sounds very good to our ears because there are resonances, and if you play a note, you will also be hearing just unconsciously the note an octave above, like 2 octaves above, or like it's something like that. It's like 1, 2, 4, 8, and it resonates in your ear. So when you hear a note, 2 notes that are an octave apart, and you have that 1-to-2 ratio, that is why that's unison, and that's why that's the note that Western music and I think most music systems are based on, that ratio. So then
I'm just realizing this now. The ratios, like the frequencies themselves, kind of look like the sine of x function.
Oh yeah, they are.
And I guess that function is like periodic. So maybe you hear the overtones, the periodic overtones at certain intervals.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just kind of resonance basically, because like anything, our ears are a physical object, and if you think of the frequencies that would resonate in a physical object or a liquid like water, the same thing's happening in your ears, and that is why music sounds good to us. And
Mhm.
Yes, that's where we get the 1-to-2 ratio. But then other ratios are just the simpler the ratios, the better they sound, pretty much. And that is where we get the major fifth is 2-to-3. The
Perfect
then
fourth.
perfect
Perfect
fourth
fifth.
is perfect. Yeah, perfect fourth is 4-to-3, and then major third is 4-to-5, I believe. Minor third is 5-to-6. Stuff like that. These are just the smallest numbers, and yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, then even you get down to just a half step. A half step it depends on the tuning system too, but a half step can be something like 16-to-17, right? Something like that. Yeah. So that's ratios. Any additional comments?
Ratios
Yeah.
are important
Yeah.
in both math, cooking, baking, and music.
Yeah.
I
Thank
like them.
you.
The most messed up ratio is probably going to be the minor second,
Uh-huh.
which is 16-to-15.
That's
and
what
that's
I was
why
saying.
you don't
Yeah.
really hear it.
Oh, I wonder.
Purposely.
Hold on. The golden ratio.
Ooh.
The ratio based on the Fibonacci sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it was ever used in.
I don't think it could be. I mean,
Yeah, I don't. I just like any aspect of it.
Huh.
But
I
it would
wonder.
be interesting.
it would just be a random frequency.
Honestly.
Yeah, it would just be out of tune. Huh.
Yeah.
That is an interesting idea.
Oh wait. Oh.
I just wonder if it could be applied in any way.
Yeah.
I think if you look at a violin, a violin actually the golden ratio.
Oh.
Like the distance from the top of the violin to the bottom of the neck
Uh-huh.
is A1, and A2 is the right.
Oh.
Then the distance from the top of the fingerboard to the bottom of the neck is B1, and then from the top of the neck to the bridge is B2, and then the distance from the top of the bottom of the neck to the bottom of the fingerboard is C1, and from bottom of the fingerboard to bridge is C2. So all those ratios are the golden ratio.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I guess they weren't messing around when they made violins.
Yeah.
Someone obviously calculated that.
Huh.
And the theme from the Fifth Symphony, the harmony actually follows the golden ratio. So.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, definitely. So it's basically just simple numbers, easily divided, because if you think of a 3-to-2 ratio, what's happening is that the peaks and the valleys are lining up more often than they would with just two random frequencies, just two noises that you might hear in nature. So that makes it sound better. It like lines up like left and right, like it lines up more often. And
thanks for that little percussion.
Thank you.
Right,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
That's some good human music right there.
Human music. Yep. Thank you. So, I think that's good for ratios. So now A440.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the tuning pitch, the concert pitch. This is what you tune to, and it's really foundational. It's even in the Treaty of Versailles, which is just infinitely funny. I always find that funny.
How is it integrated into the treaty?
So it's part of a section on standards of commerce and stuff like that. Just having standard containers, for example, so that standard measures, just standard size objects, say railroads that are the same width apart, stuff like that. So this was just a standardization. But it's just interesting that they decided to include it in the Treaty of Versailles that ended World War I. They said, okay, we gotta include that when tuning a concert, it always needs to be 440 hertz That has to be
But
A.
I bet that was a dig at the Germans. I bet they were tuning it like 442, and then the French were like tuning it 440, and they were pissed. So they had one extra punishment in paying
Probably.
billions of dollars. Got to tune to 440 now.
Yeah, and if you think this a lot rides on this. Not only if you tune your instrument wrong, does it just sound bad in concert. If you tune it wrong, you are actually breaking the Treaty of Versailles. So,
wow.
Yeah.
War crime.
War crime, exactly. So yeah, A440.
So this is a very important pitch.
Yeah.
It's what everyone tunes to.
Mm-hmm.
Does someone want to hum it?
Oh. No.
I don't think I could do that on the top of my head. Here, wait.
Also, another strange fact is that surgeons use a surgical tool the same shape of a tuning fork. And it is used to do bone conduction tests.
Ooh.
And now it's called a tuning fork.
That's crazy.
So if you look up tuning fork online, it comes.
So which is it A4 for 440? You know, like A0, A1, A2. A4. Okay. I will now play A4 on my phone. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Don't blast it.
Okay. This is A440. So I'll stop that before everyone just ears ringing. But that's
so there you go.
Yeah. So there you go. So
important pitch.
So Zach, do you know why this note was settled on as the tuning pitch? Do you know? Like, I know it was previously A4, like 435 or something, but why was it A specifically that it was always defaulting to?
I don't know why it's 440, but it's A because almost every instrument has an open string in terms of string instruments. So they can all tune to the pitch A.
Yeah, definitely. Violin, viola.
Even further than that, in the orchestra, I guess it's just the pitch that makes the most sense. I guess the tradition originated in string orchestras when the concertmaster violin would give an A to the rest of the orchestra to tune because all of the strings could tune to it. And then in full symphonies, they kept that, except the oboe would play the A. But if you're not in a string ensemble, the tuning pitch often isn't an A.
Sometimes they do F, bands, right?
Bands tune to an F, B flat. It depends. It doesn't have to be an A.
That's interesting.
It's not like A is special besides the fact that instruments
it's just useful.
Have it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
From a logical perspective, you would assume it to be a C.
Yeah.
Because like middle C, piano.
Yeah.
C is sort of the like bass note, but that doesn't make sense for some instrument.
Yeah, true. Like a violin does not have a C string.
And once you tune by the A string, you can tune using perfect fifths to tune the rest of the string.
Yeah. It's also interesting to think about A440. There might be an alternate universe where everything's slightly higher pitched. Like all the music, they just decided on A450 or something. And just all music is now 10 hertz higher or whatever.
You could also hear pitches higher than others, and you would never.
Yeah. So, just a little detour from frequency. Zach, you said that one of your favorite composers was Camille Saint-Saëns.
Yeah.
Right. Max, do you have a favorite composer?
I cannot say. I really do like a lot of them. I don't know. Let's go with. I'll say Tchaikovsky for the sake. Yeah.
Nice. That's a good choice.
Thank you.
Anyways, we can keep going. I was just wondering.
Oh, okay.
You
were just asking.
Like, I wasn't gonna lead up with a joke or anything.
I thought you were gonna do like, I don't know, figure something out based on it. I thought it was some sort of trick or something you were doing. And I was trying to help you.
I am not a trickster.
Okay, not a practical jokester.
Yeah. What is the Seth Everman thing? Hold on, I want to find it now.
Okay. Well, so that's A440. I'll move on to the next slide. Scales. So scales are when you go up and down through the pitches from one octave through a few steps to the octave above and then back down usually. And music is based on a scale. Sometimes it changes midway through a song, but you think that notes on the scale are typically used, and then sometimes you break the scale, like you go onto a just random note, not random, but a different note that has a very precise impact, but they are definitely foundational. That's what everyone does for warm-ups in an orchestra, so yeah. So,
there are actually some scales that don't have octaves or eight notes. I guess those are more close to chords, but the idea of scales is to kind of outline the notes in a harmonic structure. And like Max said, I mean, most especially early compositions were just variations of the scales. Themes are often centered around scales or use parts of scale.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And before we get into scales, I would like to address chat. Maddie B. Raps says, "Hi, Max," and I say, "Hello, Maddie B. Raps." So
I also found the Seth Everman thing. If you wanna get it.
Oh, is it? Oh wait, where is it? Should I?
It's just hit present.
Okay. All right, here we go. I'm 99.7% sure that Seth Everman is some chaotic trickster god. Immediately after making this post, I got an announcement that there's a gas leak in my school. Hee, very unlucky. That is horrifying.
I thought that was funny.
That is scary.
Yeah.
Seth Everman. Oh my gosh. Well,
you called me a trickster. That was all I could think of.
Yep. I'm gonna go to the next one. So, Clefs.
Yeah.
This is kind of random.
We bypassed clefs.
What?
We've got the treble clef.
Yeah.
Bass clef, alto, and tenor clef are the most common. Treble and bass together form the piano sheet music. Violin, flute, oboe, high-pitched instruments use treble, and low instruments like cello and bass, trombone use bass clef. And
trombone.
There are only like a few privileged instruments that get to use the coolest clef, the clef, and among those is the viola. And the alto clef is so good because middle C is on the middle line of the clef.
Yeah.
So it's perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Yeah, I do like
the
that.
clefs are just not balanced.
Yeah. So then I have a question. The tenor clef looks exactly the same, kind of.
It is the same as the alto, except
it's just placed higher. That's so
it's
odd.
Lower. It's lower because
yeah.
they move the alto's sign. So
they
the
moved
fourth
the
line
sign
of it
higher
is
up.
middle.
That is odd.
I can read in it, but if I have to read in it, I just draw 2 more lines in my...
That's good, yeah. Make it balanced again.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Yeah, that was just a little sidetrack because we didn't know where to put clefs, but they were important. So
yeah, they are important for scales.
Oh, and then so now KCC says, I say yeet, and then I guess I'll say yoink in response. So major scales. This is just, the most notable. Are there multiple major scales? I think there's just one, right? Like, are there variations on this?
Yeah, there could be.
I know there's the
I mean,
modes, but
it's pretty universal.
okay. So yeah,
The
everyone
major scale.
the majors. There are multiple
Say
minor
major
scales, which
scale,
is
there's one A major scale, but if you say A minor,
mhm.
multiple minors.
Yeah, there are multiple minors, but there's just one commonly accepted major then. So yeah, that is do re mi fa sol la ti do. There you go, major scale. Congratulations.
Boom.
Bam. So that's your major scale. And this one starts on C. And this is just the scale that sounds happy and bright and is just very general for kind of all purpose. Just this is kind of the generic scale,
Well, C major is the most common
Yeah.
key because it has no sharps or flats.
Yeah, so that's just easy to write,
Yeah.
and easy to do on the piano because you don't have to. Actually, I'm not going to say anymore. But,
I'm not going to talk about the key signatures entirely, but the basic idea is that there can be X number of sharps or flats up to all notes being sharp and flat. And what that does is it raises the note by a half step.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have F, and then you sharp it becomes F sharp, and is a half step higher.
Mm-hmm.
And in some keys, you need that F sharp for it to be major. So the key with one sharp, which is F sharp, is G major.
Mm-hmm.
And F sharp is the 7th note of the G major scale. So in any major scale, the interval between the 7th and the 8th note is always a half step.
Yeah, that makes sense because
major.
The last note, and that also gives major scales the property that if you don't resolve it, it just sounds horrible.
Yeah, it can sound really weird.
It's so close that you just gotta finish it. So if you go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, it just hangs in the air horribly.
Yeah. What actually breaks the scale is the third. If the third is not correct, if the third is a minor third from the first note, then it's a minor scale, and if it's a major third, then it's a major scale.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good measure as well. Should we move on to the next one?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to address chat again. So, KCC, in response, has said, I had a long conversation about the grammar of yeet and yoink. Yeets for things moving away / things being acted upon in a positive manner. Yoinks for things being acted upon negatively.
Yes, this is actually very true. This actually follows Newton's law of every action.
Every action has an equal and opposite
So for
reaction.
every yeet, there is a yoink.
Mm-hmm.
And for every yoink, there is a yeet.
Yes.
Whenever you yeet an object down the hall, per se, if it was indeed empty, you, in some time in your life, you will yoink something away at the same exact velocity and force.
Yep. The Lord yeeteth and the Lord yoinketh away.
Yeah. Also, yeet when throwing something is for strength, and Kobe when throwing something is for precision.
Nice.
And LeBron's for height.
So.
Or you could go Schubert for
Schubert.
Say Rachmaninoff.
Little mushroom. So these are interesting.
Alright, let's get to some modes.
Yeah, the major modes.
Oh yeah.
So I've pulled up my phone's piano here. So I got an app. So basically, the major modes are just a major scale, except you start on a different note. So these are in order. So the Ionian scale, you start on the second note of the major scale and then go all the way up back to the first note, and then the second note again, right? Or is it backwards or?
No, you start on the second.
Okay, cool. So I got that right.
And,
yeah, and then the Dorian.
And it's the same key signature as the major scale. So the G Ionian scale starts on A and ends on A, but it only has one sharp.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to play some of these. So first we've got our C scale. So So that's standard, right? But then you have the Ionian C scale, which is a little weird. And then you have the Dorian. And then back again. So those are all the major modes.
These modes actually aren't all major.
Yeah, that's true. Although they are technically the major modes, one of them defines the minor, harmonic, or no, not harmonic. Just the natural. Natural minor is a mode of the major scale. Yeah. Which one is it? Is it Dorian? Or is it Aeolian?
It's wait, you've confused me by the order. Ionian's the first, then Dorian, then Mixolydian, right? Is the third?
Wait, really? Oh, I might have.
I don't know.
No, I think I went down in a column. That's what I was trying.
The relative minor is the Aeolian mode.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's in order. Yeah. So Aeolian makes me think of Aeolus, god of winds.
Well, actually, it's interesting you said that because these modes are all originating from Greek music.
Oh yeah. Io too. That's a god. It's a moon of Jupiter as well. Huh.
Yeah.
The Greeks studied music as well as they did geometry and other early science and philosophy.
Yeah.
And with music, they didn't have scales. They only used notes, and they used very complex rhythms because they didn't really have that much paper. So they didn't write down their music. But if you were to transcribe it today, it doesn't neatly fit into our rhythmic system.
Yeah. Huh.
Many of their pieces were in strange time signatures, like 5/4 time.
Huh. Yeah. It's interesting, too, with Ionian scale. I like to think if someone colonizes Jupiter's moon Io, then they should make it a law that all music must be in the Ionian mode on Io. just for the effect. Yeah. But definitely, this is where I think the main point of the major modes is that they do sound interesting. They definitely sound interesting, and they also offer the Aeolian, which is the natural minor scale. So that's like the foundation of minor, is the Aeolian major mode, which is interesting. You either die a major scale or live long enough to see yourself become the minor scale. So should we move on to the minor scales?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Minor scales. So we've got natural minor, harmonic minor, and melodic minor. And so I will play them. So this is the natural minor scale, and this is in C. So it's that was harmonic. Shoot, I messed that up. Okay, here we go.
Do A natural minor.
Okay, A natural minor, because that's just all okay.
Easier.
So that's A natural minor. So then harmonic minor would be...
You rate 7th note on the way up and down.
And a lot of music from the Middle East has that harmonic minor.
Well, a lot of music from the Middle East has harmonic minor themes.
Yeah.
Or scale, or themes that are just a harmonic minor scale.
Mm-hmm.
But in Western music, the harmonic minor is the minor that chords are based on, which is why it's called harmonic minor. Mm-hmm. So Western music uses raised 7th in minor. When a piece is or a song is in a minor key, the chords often have a raised 7th.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, they follow the natural minor.
Yeah, that's the difference between the natural and the harmonic minor, is that the natural minor is just a major mode, but a problem with that is that the seventh is a whole step down from the octave, which you don't want because, as I said earlier with the major scale, since the seventh is just a half step below the octave, it gives it a really nice closure, gives it good closure, like it naturally wants to end. But with the natural minor, it doesn't get that because it's farther away. So the harmonic minor offers a simple, maybe not so elegant, but just a simple solution. Okay, the seventh is too low, just raise the seventh. And so what that produces, though, is a gap that's 1.5 steps between the sixth and the seventh in the harmonic scale, which is a little weird. It does produce that effect that you think of as sort of like Middle Eastern music, but you might not want it. So then there's also the melodic, which is supposed to adjust for everything, fixes everything, right? And so that is just pretty much a major scale, except there's a minor third, right? But then everything else is held the same.
Wait, no, it's
The melodic?
minor scale. Melodic minor is raised seventh and sixth on the way up, and then natural on the way down.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense. Okay, so I'll play that. Yeah, so it's a natural minor scale on the way down, but it's its own thing, melodic on the way up. And what that does is that you correct for both the 1.5 gap of the harmonic scale, and you also correct for that lowered seventh. So you raise the sixth and the seventh on the way up. You can keep the third as a minor, and it gives you that resolving effect. It reduces the gaps so that you have more equal spacing. And then on the way down, you can do a natural minor because you aren't leading into that octave anymore. So you don't need to have that nearness. So, yeah. So those are the 3 minor scales.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Should we move on to harmony?
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you have anything else on minor scales, Zach?
Let's go into harmony.
Okay, cool. Harmony. So, harmony is when 2 notes are played at once, and that has to
crazy, dude. Crazy.
Yeah, 2 notes at once. Crazy, right? That is our... so the harmony, that is our discussion on ratios earlier. You have to think 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. These are notes that sound good together because their peaks and troughs line up in the pressure waves. So, yeah. So let's go to the triads.
So, triads are 3-note chords.
Not the Chinese mafia.
That are the foundation of harmony and chords in general. They are the first note, the third above that note, and then the fifth above that note, which is important because the fifth is a perfect interval, and the third is the interval which is either major or minor, and sort of contextualizes the chord. And the variations of triads. A triad can either be major, minor, diminished, or augmented. It is major if it is just a major third and a perfect fifth. Minor if it's a minor third and a perfect fifth. Diminished if it's a minor third and a diminished fifth. And then augmented if it's a major third and an augmented fifth.
And I can play these two.
Is a very dissonant interval, and so is the augmented fifth. But in my opinion, diminished fifth sounds more clashing, and augmented fifth just sounds like open and sort of wrong.
Yeah, because you got that. Wait, is that a tritone, or is for diminished, or one of them
Diminished
has a
fifth
tritone.
is a
Yeah,
tritone.
so that's why that sounds like that. So okay, so this is the major.
Water music piece we played.
Yeah. Here, wait. Let me make the numbers of keys less so that okay. So this is the major triad. Ah, shoot. So that sounds, nice, bright, happy. So then this is the minor triad. So that's your sadness. And then you have diminished, which just goes from kind of melancholy, kind of sad, to just completely devastated, absolute sorrow and anguish. That's what the diminished triad makes me think of. And you can hear it clashing.
Chords are very powerful.
Yeah, they are very like you think nice, bright, and happy major, then there's a hint of doubt minor, and then diminished is just completely, this is like tragedy has struck. And then augmented doesn't really follow that path. It's just kind of there. It's odd. It's like something's about to happen. It feels suspenseful, don't you think?
Augmented is used most in modern music because sort of avoided in earlier eras. And with harmony, Baroque period, they wouldn't even use perfect fourths. Like they had very strict rules.
Yeah.
And now it's not like that at all.
Definitely.
Now you can do whatever you want.
That's how we keep things fresh,
Era, like you would have been not even considered a human being if you had thrown an augmented triad in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you like to think what is it? So that's how, as I said earlier, that it's hard to write new music when so much music already exists, but this is how you break the long established traditions of composition. So you use those augmented triads and you use those perfect fourths. So yeah, let's try.
All right. So now, if you want to upgrade your triad,
yep,
to it.
VIP mode, Triad Plus.
It just makes it more fancy.
Yeah.
There's not much to say. There are a bunch of different variations. The seventh is very prominent in non-classical music, like jazz and pop and stuff. But even in classical music, the seventh is an important note. As you said before, it sort of gives closure to stuff. So adding the seventh in makes chords more special in a way.
I think it definitely adds to the emotional flair, like how the triads each kind of made you feel a certain way. The seventh just ups the game. So I can play some of these too if you want. So let's see. So let's get this one.
Just play the ones that are on the slide.
Oh, I probably...
Because there are no accidentals.
Oh, okay. I can do it with accidentals. So this is just this is a what did you say? Elevated seventh? Yeah, this is a major triad and an elevated seventh. So
the major.
Yeah, so this is
major,
definitely. It's very happy, So then this is the, I think,
minor,
I used to know
major.
these. Yeah, this is major with a lowered seventh. So this is, I forgot. It was called dominant or something like that. Like, so.
Yeah.
So that sounds a bit sadder, you think. So this is like, this is just perfect day. Then this is just a bit, like a twinge.
A little different, yeah.
Yeah, and then...
But arrange the order of the notes in the chord, it completely changes it. If you make it F, A, C, D, then it's a completely different chord. So the chord on the bottom, the root of the chord, is extremely important in determining what the chord is and how you feel.
Yeah, like instead of playing this, you could play this, which is a little different. Yeah.
Those chords are less frequent.
Yeah. So then there's more. So this was, and now we get, and then diminished, and then I think there's one like this. It's just a progression into like sadness, I think, which is interesting because you think of how you want your songs to sound. You can make it really happy and then progress into sadness, or make it start really sad and then like get happier to make an inspirational song as opposed to a sad song. Just by using these sevenths, just by rearranging these chords, just by changing them a little bit, something as like just a half step, changing one note a half step, can just completely change the emotional feel of a song, which is really interesting.
Like, if you were to play Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, but up a half step, it is entirely different.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't minor.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's a YouTube video.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so you turn the minor third into a major third?
Oh, I found something.
Okay.
It's so different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
it's
so
brighter,
happy.
definitely.
And they only probably changed one or two notes.
Yeah. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Yeah. Oh, I played in orchestra this year. They gave us the like rock version or whatever of this, like the one they use for Judge Judy. Da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, or we could just play the normal version. But it was interesting because I was just, the whole time we were playing that, I was just thinking of Judge Judy, and I've only seen the show like twice, just when it pops on TV and you hear the intro and it's like, so and so, I don't know, has a dog, and then this guy took their dog and now they want their dog back, and then da 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 da, and yeah. So I was just thinking about that the whole time we were playing that song. So so that's seventh chords. I'll go to the next. Counterpoint. So
this is something we don't really know that much about, but we put it in here just because it is important. We'll just briefly explain what it is. It's two lines of music that are harmonically intertwined, so they fit a harmony, but their rhythms or their directions are different. And this is going from the chords into counterpoint. You see how rhythm and harmony are used together to make what we consider music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's head over to the next one. Okay. The next
Rhythm.
topic is rhythm.
The hardest word to spell.
We got, honestly.
It took.
So
you tried it, and then I tried it, and then we just
ahead.
auto-corrected it. Like, I think you spelled it wrong, then I spelled it wrong, and then we were like, you know what, let's just use the autocorrect.
It's a very good hangman word.
Yes, actually.
That's true.
So rhythm is very important to music, and we're going to tell you why.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just have notes.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what we've been talking about so far, other than the history part. But we've been talking about notes and chords, and those are really important. But you also need to think about rhythm, because that can also affect the feel of how a song sounds. Like, you can have a choppy, uneven rhythm, and it sounds like it's bouncing along. Or you can have a steady rhythm and it sounds like a march or something, like an immovable force or immovable object, or Unstoppable
Yeah.
Force, stuff like that. Yeah. So let's see.
All right. So
Common time signatures.
common time, not 4/4.
Yeah.
But these are the time signatures that you'll most often see
Mm-hmm.
in music. Time signatures are either duple or triple
Uh-huh.
or quadruple, which means that they divide one measure into groups of 2 beats, 3 beats, or 4 beats.
Mm-hmm.
And within each beat, it is divided further into eighth notes. So if you look at 2/4, that means that there are 2 beats in a measure, and a quarter note gets 1 beat. And naturally, quarter notes are divided into eighth notes.
Uh-huh.
But then if you look at 6/8, it is divided into 2 dotted quarter note macro beats, and then the divisions of those are 3 eighth notes. So they're entirely different.
Yeah.
And then simple triple, compound triple, simple quadruple, and compound quadruple are all the common variations of time signature.
They're also all different flavors of Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Simple duple.
You know, you just go up. Let me get a
simple duple.
Compound duple of blueberry.
Yeah. Instead of asking for a
simple
single
triple sounds like
a simple triple.
Like, let me just go and get that simple triple.
Come on down
nuts.
to Ben and Jerry's and get yourself a simple triple ice cream. 3 flavors in 1 cone. Yeah, simple triple.
Yeah. So these are all common time signatures, but our next slide has
rare time signatures.
Some of the rare ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you see these, consider yourself lucky.
Yep.
Because you have stumbled upon the essentially a shiny Pokemon.
Exactly.
Because these are cool.
We got 5/4.
Yeah.
So 4/4 is like where it's at. That's what almost all music is written in.
Yep.
And then someone was edgy and wanted to add another beat.
I think they started writing. They had a really good first bar, but then they just needed another note, and they're like, I'll just change it.
Yeah, but 5/4 can either be counted as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 groups of 2 and a 1, or it can be counted as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's really like wacky because you can divide it in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it makes me think of those occasional songs where they alternate between 5/4 and 4/4, or they alternate between 2 different time
if
signatures.
You look at the bottom one, it's not actually 34/9 or 39/48. That's not a thing. It's alternating between 3/4 and 9.
Huh. 3/4.
And you might think, why?
I see.
And to that, I say, I don't know.
Why?
There's no reason you would want to do that.
Well, not even the composers know why you did what you did.
39/48.
It's just it's a very strange deal because 3/4 is 1, 2, 3, and then 9/8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So
so it's like you get what? So it's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah.
The only thing I could think is that some note is constant between them, like the quarter note is constant. So then it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, that doesn't even make any sense. I don't.
Well, wait, it would make me think of like 1 and 2 and 3 and
that
1 and 2 and
that piece on the bottom, the not 39/48. But do you guys know who composed that?
No.
No, but I do know of pieces that switch between 2 meters.
That is actually Tchaikovsky.
Oh, really? I know that he picked a really good. He picked a really good BPM.
Yeah, Andante Cantabile is
Cantabile.
It's an arrangement by Tchaikovsky.
Huh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, it doesn't. There are multiple Andante, right?
Yep.
Are they?
It's quite
Yeah,
unfortunate.
because that's the tempo.
For some reason, half of
that's the
yeah.
tempo. I thought that was the name of the piece.
I'm gonna
The first one that came up was literally just something by Tchaikovsky.
Huh.
Maybe it
do
is.
an image search on Google.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's unfortunate. For some reason, I think, I'd say half of all music is just named song or dance in whatever language the composer speaks.
Yeah, I guess.
Right? You think, what is it? Or fast, allegro. Think of how many songs you've played called allegro, which just means fast, or some song, or
We search by image.
doesn't-
Yeah, I do not know as much about music as these guys, which is why I've been pretty quiet for this last half. So I did not know that Andante Cantabile. I'm probably saying that wrong as well.
Andante cantabile.
Okay, well I should just shoot myself at this point.
Just get out of here.
Yeah,
no,
honestly.
It's fine.
So my mistake, but this
Yeah, it's
is a learning moment.
Yeah.
Because as we said, this
These are
season we
learning,
want to
yeah.
learn from our guests.
These are learning live
And
streams.
I just learned that I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I like in the 9/2 time. I just like how there's 9 half notes. Just look at that, just all in a row. That just looks
Oh,
looks
wow.
like such a mess, don't you think?
I'm playing a piece this year that is in 1/1.
That wow,
One of the variations from the Enigma variations.
the enigma
1/1 is used to be super
fast. Yeah,
Okay.
really fast.
I found what. That is Nocturne by Chopin.
Turn by Chopin.
Interesting.
It is Nocturne. I don't know what OP stands for. You guys probably know.
Opus.
Opus 9 by Chopin.
Oh, opus means work. Yeah.
Oh,
Like art.
well, I think. Yeah, no, this is a very famous piece. I think it's not actually switching between. It's just a different way to write it because this piece is actually supposed to be in 12/8,
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
and someone could write it in 3/4/9/8, which
Oh.
that's just strange.
3
now.
plus 9, 4 plus 8 gives you 12. I don't know.
No, because 3/4 would be
Yeah, 3, 4 would be 6, 8.
8.
So that's 15,
Mm-hmm.
8.
Yeah, that's very confusing. Maybe it could be played in either 3/4 or 9/8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. What was it originally written in?
12.
12.
12, 8.
All right. Well, I hope I've redeemed myself.
You have.
by finding it. Oh yes, thank you, music gods.
Forgotten Isle 2 from the Super Mario Odyssey game soundtrack. It's in the time signature 1116.
Ooh,
I'm gonna listen to this.
that is
Oh, yeah.
peculiar.
Maybe not right now for copyright.
Oh yeah,
reasons,
true.
but I will listen.
Put it in the
right this
Discord.
time.
You guys want to move on to rhythm tree?
Sure. Oh yes, rhythm tree.
So this, I'm not even gonna pretend to know what this is. Go ahead, Max.
Okay, so this is your basic division of notes. So you see on the rhythm tree on the right, you have a whole note, and that whole note, if you think of 4/4 time, for instance, that whole note lasts 1, 2, 3, 4, all one note. So then the half notes, if you think about it, whole note is the whole bar, and then the half note is half the bar, in reference to 4/4 at least. So your half note would be 1, 2, or 3, 4. So that's why there's 2 of them. Then you get your quarter notes, and I think you can see the pattern here. Whole, half, quarter. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you get eighth notes, and that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you get 16th notes, and that's like 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. And then you can get 32nd notes if you want, if you're feeling up to it. And it's just 1 block, 2 block, 3 block. Just it can get crazy fast. Like you can get 64ths, 128ths, any power of 2. And then on the left is pretty much a similar thing, except it's with triplets. So this is also 4/4 time, if you think. So you have your whole note at the top, which takes up the whole bar, the 1, 2, 3, 4. And so then underneath, with the 3 half notes under the bar that says 3, what that says is that you have 3 half notes in the space of 2 half notes. So one whole note. 3 half notes in the space of 1 whole note, which means that they're 2/3 as long as they would naturally be, which is odd. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, if you think of 1, 2, and 3, 4, you get just like da, 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 da. And it's weird. It definitely is, but it's used in, I think, it's used in many pieces. So it's not that weird.
It's used for compound meter.
Yeah.
When something is written in a duple time signature, but it wants to have some sort of triplet aspect, you use the triplets. But you can see the things on the left of the rhythm tree without the 3s and still play them as triplets if the time signature itself is triple.
Yeah.
Like if you look at...
If you had 3/2, for instance, those 3 half notes would make sense. Yeah, definitely. I think Star Wars uses triplets, like the Star Wars theme. Da, 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 da. I'm not gonna sing that because that'll be instantly copyrighted.
Instant gone.
If there's any force, any entity,
you sing it, that's rough.
Well, maybe, but I'm not gonna roll those dice. If there's any entity that is extremely repressive with copyright law, it is Disney. Disney actually lobbies the U.S. government to make copyright law longer. Originally, copyright law only lasted 28 years, but because of lobbying by the Walt Disney Corporation, it has gotten much longer. Yeah, like even just in the 1920s. Even in the 1920s, it was also just 28 years copyright. So it was really all Disney that made copyright so long, which is interesting. The mouse controls all.
The mouse. Should we move on?
Sure. Oh yeah, final thoughts.
So, I'll go first because I said the least.
Okay.
I felt like I definitely learned a lot from this, which is our goal this season. As I said earlier, we're trying to learn stuff from our guests. So I'd like to thank Zach for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
Anytime.
Yeah. Classical music. I'm not even going to lie. It slaps. Like, honestly, there are some pieces that just slap. My favorite piece is the Dance of the Nights.
Oh,
which, by Prokofiev. That just slaps to me.
Yeah.
There's some other things that slap, like Waltz Number 2 by Shostakovich is another good one.
Yeah.
Those I actually listen to like on the regular. So classical music, some people might be like, "Oh, you listen to that? What are you, some just intellectual?" No, I listen to that. So anyone can listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't want to say
And I don't even know anything about, like, well, now I do know more about it, but when I started this, I didn't know anything about music theory, but I'm now glad to say that I've learned a lot from this stream. So thank you guys.
Definitely. Classical music is great for lo-fi beats to relax / study to. That is, I always use classical music, or at least instrumental music, when I'm trying to just do some work, especially work well, sometimes if I have to focus too much, then I just need silence. But when I can have a bit in the background, I do like to have some music for easier tasks, I guess, or just tasks that don't require too much thought, like making graphics for a video or something like that. You know, I love to always have my music in the background. So yeah, it's definitely, music is a very lovely thing. I can't think of one, but think of the without art, earth would be eh. Think of that. Think of that quote and just apply it to music.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how I think about music. So I like music. Yeah.
I think beyond everyone being able to listen to music, everyone can learn to play music.
Yeah.
One way or another, pretty easily, because even percussion instruments, singing, anything, even dance, is technically a form of playing. So it's pretty important to have some sort of music.
Yeah, music is very important to human society and culture. It's just throughout the ages.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, we start at the medieval era with 1100, but that's just because of how much documentation and history you can have from that period. But even if you just think back, even before then, probably just at the dawn of time, at the beginning of humanity, there with the tribal Paleolithic humans probably had some sort of
stone against a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first ever drummer, ook ook, who was just in the cave, just banging out the tunes.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just like.
Yeah.
It's actually steady.
Your poor keyboard.
Yeah, no, that's me punching my desk.
Oh, okay. Your keyboard is not vibing though. I can hear it.
No, it ain't. It really ain't. I actually broke my keyboard so that the stands that your keyboard's supposed to stand on, so it's like at an angle. Well, at least if you have a good keyboard.
Yeah.
Those broke off.
Ooh.
And so now I have a stuffed figurine of Kylo Ren holding my keyboard up. He's been doing that for like a year and a half.
Wow. That's funny.
Work that must be done.
Yeah. Well, so thank you for watching this video, everyone. I hope that you learned something. We definitely learned from this video. Very fascinating. Music is a wonderful topic. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys all next time. So I will
Thank you so much for watching.
End the stream. Thank you for